We've been piecing this puzzle together for years, scouring timelines, decoding family trees, and chasing whispers across generations of the Dutton legacy. And just when it feels like everything is finally starting to line up, the story throws us another curveball. Or does it? Let's talk about Spencer and Alex. Their love story is unforgettable, and their son, little John, feels like he has to be part of the direct line leading to John Dutton. The rugged, unshakable rancher we've come to know and respect in Yellowstone, portrayed masterfully by Kevin Costner. On paper, it fits. Emotionally, it clicks. But here's where things get complicated, really complicated. If Spencer's son is Generation 3 and John Dutton, is from Generation 5, then somewhere along the line, we're missing an entire generation. A crucial chapter in the Dutton bloodline is nowhere to be found. No names, no stories, no graves. Just silence. So what happened? Was there a Dutton who walked away from the ranch? A son who was disowned or forgotten? Or maybe, just maybe, a child whose legacy was hidden to protect something or someone? This isn't just a mystery, it's the key to unlocking everything we don't know about the Dutton dynasty. And to understand what's coming next, we need to go all the way back. Back to the origins of power, pain, and perseverance. Because the missing generation might just hold the answers to everything. Get ready, because what we uncover next could change the way we see the entire Yellowstone universe. Let's dive deep. To understand the first 4 generations properly, we need to look at 1883 and 1923. These shows reveal 6 members of the first generation: Margaret, James, Kara, Jacob, and Claire. Margaret and James Dutton. James is the patriarch of 1883. He's a farmer from Tennessee who wants to build a new life out west with his family. Along with his sister, niece, wife, and their children, James sets out with a wagon train from Fort Worth, Texas. Honestly, 1883 is my favorite show in this universe. His wife, Margaret Dutton, is the confident and uncompromising matriarch we've come to admire and honestly fall a little bit in love with. She's more than just a rancher's wife. She's the heart of the early Dutton legacy. Fiercely protective, endlessly wise, and unapologetically strong, Margaret holds her family together through the brutal trials of frontier life. She doesn't just survive, she leads, she nurtures, and she commands respect without ever raising her voice. If you haven't figured it out yet, I'm completely obsessed with her grace under fire. Her death shattered Margaret and James, but it also gave them purpose. The very place Elsa drew her final breath becomes the sacred ground they decide to call home. And through their surviving sons, John Sr. and Spencer, they begin to build something lasting, something that would one day become the mighty Yellowstone Ranch. But Montana has never been kind to dreamers. In 1839, during a pursuit of horse thieves, James Dutton is killed, leaving Margaret alone in a harsh, relentless world. Desperate to protect her sons and preserve the land they bled for, she writes a desperate letter to James's brother Jacob Dutton, begging him to come and help. Her letter is a mother's last act of courage, written with trembling hands and a heart full of sorrow. But fate deals one final, cruel blow. Before Jacob arrives, Margaret succumbs to the bitter cold of a Montana winter, dying from hypothermia, alone, cold, and heartbroken. It's a haunting end for one of the fiercest women in the Dutton saga, one that still echoes in every generation after her. Enter Jacob and Kara Dutton, without a doubt, my favorite Dutton couple. They don't come to Montana for power or profit, they come for family, for legacy, and for love. Jacob takes on the role of patriarch with quiet strength and unwavering determination. Kara, on the other hand, becomes the soul of the ranch. Though they never have children of their own, their devotion to John Sr. and Spencer is nothing short of parental. They raise the boys as their own, shaping them with a deep sense of duty, resilience, and legacy. Jacob doesn't just survive, he transforms the Yellowstone into a lasting empire. As commissioner of the Montana Livestock Association, he lays the groundwork for a legacy that will echo through generations. But let's not forget Kara, my favorite Dutton woman. She's not just a wife or caretaker, she's a warrior in her own right. When Jacob is ambushed and left near death in 1923, Kara doesn't flinch. She steps up, leads the ranch, commands loyalty, and makes impossible decisions in the face of crisis. Every scene with her radiates grace under fire. Her grit is quiet but fierce. She is, in every sense, the true matriarch of the Yellowstone. Together, Jacob and Kara's sacrifices weren't just noble, they were foundational. Every inch of that land, every head of cattle, every legacy carried forward by the Dutton name, all of it rests on their backs. Their legacy is more than ranching. It's a living monument to love, loss, and the fierce determination to protect what's yours. Now let's not overlook Claire Dutton, the lesser-known sibling of James and Jacob. She travels alongside James and Margaret in 1883, already hardened by life. A widow with only one child, Claire is strong-willed and sharp-tongued. But when she loses her daughter, Mary Abel, to the brutal reality of the frontier, she crumbles under the weight of grief. In a heartbreaking scene, Claire takes her own life, a moment so raw, so tragic, it still lingers with many of us who watched it unfold. Even though I never fully connected with Claire or Mary Abel, that scene, unforgettable. Here's a little trivia you might have missed. Claire is played by Dawn Olivieri, who also appears in Yellowstone as the scheming and ambitious Sarah Atwood Talkabout Range. Now, as we move into the second generation, most of the familiar faces come from 1923, but there's one name that deserves to be said again, Elsa Dutton. Elsa isn't just a character. She's the heart and soul of 1883, a wild spirit, a poet at heart, and a fierce fighter. She narrates much of the journey west, and her voice becomes the heartbeat of the Dutton family's story. Her death caused by an arrow during an ambush changes everything. As she lies dying, her parents decide they can't go any farther. They will bury their daughter and settle where she falls. It's one of the most emotional moments in the entire Yellowstone universe. That scene gave me chills then, and even now, just talking about it, goosebumps. Elsa's sacrifice didn't just shape the Dutton family's past, it defines their future. She's the reason the Duttons are in Montana. She's the reason the ranch exists. Her legacy? It's written into the soil of Yellowstone itself. Emma and John Dutton. John was the only surviving son of James and Margaret Dutton to make it into adulthood, and seeing him alive in 1923 honestly feels like a small miracle. He's quiet but grounded, a man shaped by grief, hard work, and the impossible expectations of carrying on the Dutton legacy. But as we've come to expect from Taylor Sheridan, no good moment lasts forever. Just when it seems like John is finally stepping into his role as the future of the ranch, he's brutally ambushed and killed by the family's enemies. It's not just a loss, it's a gut punch to the future of the Duttons. Emma, his devoted wife, is completely shattered. Her grief is so heavy, so consuming, that she no longer sees a reason to live without him. In one of the most heart-wrenching moments in the Yellowstone universe, she takes her own life. It's a tragic reminder of how deeply the Dutton women have suffered, not just from the violence of the outside world, but from the emotional toll of loyalty, love, and endless sacrifice. Their pain is woven into the land, and Emma's story is one of the most tragic threads. The couple's son, Jack Dutton, survives them both. He's the bridge to the third generation and perhaps a missing link to an even deeper mystery. Alex and Spencer Dutton. Now let's talk about one of the most beloved couples in the Dutton universe, Spencer and Alexandra. Spencer, the youngest son of James and Margaret, was just a boy when his parents died. He's raised by Jacob and Kara Dutton, And although he grows up in a house full of love, the shadow of loss never really leaves him. By the time we encounter Spencer in 1923, he's a war-weary veteran, forever changed by the horrors of World War I. The scars of battle aren't just on his body, they're etched deep into his soul. Emotionally distant and haunted by his past, Spencer embarks on a journey of searching, not just for peace, but for a deeper meaning to his existence. That search leads him to Alexandra, a fierce, independent woman he meets while on a hunting expedition in Africa. Their connection is electric, an instant spark that burns bright and powerful. Their chemistry is undeniable, a mix of passion and vulnerability that pulls them together in an unforgettable union. In a world ravaged by war and violence, Alexandra becomes Spencer's beacon of hope, the light he never thought he'd find again. However, just as they begin to build something beautiful together, their peace is shattered. A letter from Kara arrives, pulling Spencer back to Montana and demanding he make a heartbreaking decision to leave the woman he loves and the life they've started in Africa. What follows is a journey filled with danger, pain, and heartache, one that tests the limits of their love and resolve. Through all the turmoil, Spencer promises Alexandra that they will reunite in Bozeman. But when that long-awaited reunion finally happens, it's brief and bittersweet. Alexandra tragically dies shortly after giving birth to their son, leaving Spencer shattered and alone. He never remarries, never allows another woman to fill the space Alexandra carved so deeply in his heart. Time passes, and in a twist of fate, Spencer finds some solace with a widow who helps him carry his grief. Though he eventually has another son, the shadow of his love for Alexandra never truly fades. Spencer dies in 1969, still mourning her loss, still lying on her grave, a man broken by the one true love he never could let go. Taylor Sheridan, in his writing genius, owes us all a happy ending for Spencer and Alexandra. Their love was rare, and they deserved more. But their legacy lives on through their son Spencer and Alexandra's son, John. And with him, the Dutton name endures, its story far from over. As we move into the third generation of the Dutton family tree, things start to take a thrilling turn. The mysterious ties of the Dutton bloodline begin to unfold with the arrival of Elizabeth and Jack Dutton. Jack, the son of John and Emma, comes of age in 1923. Brave, headstrong, and fiercely loyal, Jack is determined to keep the Dutton name alive despite the incredible losses he's already endured. His fiancée and later wife, Elizabeth, is no less bold a woman made for the untamed wilds of Montana. Here's where things get interesting, though. There's a theory that Jack might not actually be his real name. In fact, it's possible that Jack is a nickname for John, which would make him the grandfather of John Dutton, portrayed by Kevin Costner in Yellowstone. But if Jack isn't Jack, then who is he? There might be another Dutton lurking in the shadows, another link in the chain, and I've got a theory that could explain the missing generation. Trust me, this mystery is about to get even deeper. In 1923, Jack marries Elizabeth, and though they endure unimaginable pain with the loss of a child in a miscarriage, Elizabeth soon finds herself pregnant with Jack's baby again. Tragically, Jack is killed before he can meet his child, leaving Elizabeth devastated and alone. With nothing left to tether her to the ranch, Elizabeth leaves Montana behind and returns to Boston to be with her family. What happens to her and her unborn child after that remains a mystery, but the Dutton legacy continues to hang in the balance. Spencer's son, John Spencer, and Alexandra's son, spends less than a day with his mother before her tragic passing. The emotional weight of that brief time together is enough to break anyone's heart. We haven't yet seen Spencer's other son, born from a widow who helped him through his grief. We don't know his name or his story yet, but we can likely expect to see Spencer's sons in 1944, and possibly even in 1969. There's a persistent rumor that Spencer's son, John, could be the grandfather of John Dutton, I. But this creates a tangled web because we know for certain that John Dutton, I is part of the fourth generation. This leaves us with a missing generation that we can't ignore. But let's turn our attention to Elizabeth and Jack's child. As I've mentioned, Elizabeth was pregnant when she left the ranch, and their child, who would be part of the fourth generation, might very well be the key to unlocking this puzzle. If Spencer and Alexandra's son doesn't survive, it could be Elizabeth's child who carries the Dutton legacy forward. In fact, there's a strong possibility that Elizabeth returns to the ranch with her child in 1944, and we could learn more about his fate there. If Spencer's son survives, we might see him as a young man in his 20s, and he could even have a love interest that leads to a child making Spencer a grandfather, even in the shadow of his deep grief. Now moving into the fifth generation John Dutton, I. This man is uncompromising, unyielding, and relentless in his pursuit of keeping the Dutton land in the family. His relationship with his children is complex and fraught with tension, yet it's clear that his heart belongs to Evelyn, the great love of his life. Her death in a horseback riding accident leaves a gaping hole in his soul, but he continues to fight for his family and their land. When Kevin Costner exits the show between the first and second halves of Season 5, we witness the brutal murder of John Dutton, I orchestrated by none other than Jamie Dutton and Sarah Atwood. It's a shocking turn of events that shakes the foundation of the Dutton family. John Dutton, I's brother, Peter, tragically lived only 18 hours, a victim of premature birth and a fragile heart. Though his life was short, his place in the Dutton legacy should not be overlooked. As we approach the sixth generation, we enter the realm of Rip and Beth Dutton. These two, fierce and unrelenting in their devotion to each other and the land, are the heart and soul of the Dutton legacy in Yellowstone. Their story is one of love, sacrifice, and untold tragedy, and it's a tale that will continue to unfold as the Dutton family's saga marches on. This journey through the generations of the Duttons is just getting started, and with every twist and turn, it's becoming more impossible to predict where the story will lead next. Stay tuned, because the mystery of the Dutton bloodline is far from over. Beth is the only daughter of John I. Even though she has a softer side, we mostly see her being relentless. She dedicates her life to her father, which makes her seem like the perfect child, but we all know she's not. She's married to Rip, John I's right-hand man, who also dedicated himself to the Dutton legacy. They're a strong couple. They don't have a biological child, but they've kind of adopted Carter, who belongs to the seventh generation in Yellowstone. Beth kills Jamie to avenge her father, and Rip cleans up the mess she leaves behind. This couple will also have a spin-off show. Monica and K.C. Dutton Case, the youngest Dutton sibling and a former Navy SAAL, has always walked a different path. Unlike Beth, who thrives in the chaos and burden of the Dutton name, Case seeks peace. He longs to live outside the legacy that haunts his family, choosing love and integrity over power. His bond with Monica, who was raised on the Broken Rock Reservation, represents a rare bridge between two worlds constantly at odds. Together, they raise their son, Tate, a symbol of hope for reconciliation. But Season 5 shattered that peace. Monica heartbreakingly lost their unborn child in a tragic car accident en route to the hospital. The pain reshaped them, yet their strength has kept them going. This couple's story is far from over. In fact, they'll headline their own spin-off series, where we may finally see them find healing or face even more turmoil. Lee Dutton, the eldest son, never had the chance to grow within the story. His tragic death in a violent standoff with the Broken Rock Reservation during Season 1 was the spark that ignited much of the family's continuing battle. Though his screen time was short, his loss looms large over the ranch. He's the Dutton that could have kept things steady had he lived. Now, Jamie Dutton, Oh, where do we even begin? I know some of you won't be happy with me for bringing him up, but love him or hate him, Jamie is a Dutton. Raised as John and Evelyn's son, he only learns of his adoption much later in life, throwing his identity into chaos. His discovery of his biological father set him on a darker path, one filled with betrayal, politics, and power plays. Jamie may be the most complex character in the entire series, and yes, I said it. His actions have made him public enemy number one for many fans, and I can't blame you. He's out of the picture now, but is he really gone for good? That's something I wouldn't bet on. Then there's Carter. This one pulls at the heartstrings. A kid who's endured more than most adults, he enters Beth and Rip's life like a stray with potential. But let's be honest, it's complicated. They gave him shelter, structure, and maybe even love, but never full acceptance. There's always this invisible wall, like they want him close, but not too close. In the upcoming Beth and Rip spin-off, Carter's still around. But whether he's truly family or just a ranch hand with a room and a plate of food, that's still unclear. Personally, I think he deserves more. And finally, Jamie Dutton Jr., yes, controversial. Many fans don't even recognize him as part of the legacy, but technically, he's part of the bloodline, however tangled that line may be. Will we ever see him again? That's up in the air. But imagine this. What if, years from now, he resurfaces and tries to stake a claim in Tate's empire? It's a stretch, sure, but this is the Yellowstone universe. Stranger things have happened. What do you think? Could these spin-offs completely change how we see the Dutton family tree? I know you'll have some strong opinions on this, so drop your thoughts in the comments. I can't wait to hear what you've got to say. And then there's Tate Dutton, the youngest of the Dutton bloodline. His future is still up in the air. Will he ever find a way to reclaim the land from the reservation? Honestly, it's tough to say. But with the upcoming Casey and Monica spinoff, I'm feeling optimistic that we're about to see Tate's journey unfold in ways we never expected. Could he be the one who finally bridges the gap between two generations and two worlds? I'm all in for that possibility. And that's a wrap for today. But before you go, I want to know, what's your theory? Who do you think is John Dutton, I's father? I'd love to dive into your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, subscribing, and for being a part of this incredible community. Your support means everything to me. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to smash that like button, share it with your fellow Yellowstone fans, and of course, subscribe so you don't miss more deep dives like this. And hey, don't stop here. Check out the next video on your screen. Trust me, it's just as wild as the Duttons themselves. I'll see you there.